Grass fires still going to be high during our Tuesday. With your Storm Track 3 forecast, I'm meteorologist Renan Williams.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Wichita's official radio voice of the NFL. This is 97.5 and 1240 KFH. Kansas Fan Headquarters, 97.5 and 1240 KFH Wichita, KNSS HD2 Clearwater, and Odyssey Sports Station.
Hey Wichita, it's Jacob Albrock. Stay right there for the latest breaking in sports talk. It's Sports Daily coming up next exclusively on 97.5 and 1240 KFH.
I'm Taylor Bishotti with NFL Network Now on the Westwood One Radio Network. The Bengals have agreed to contract extensions with receivers Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, according to NFL Network insider Tom Pelissero. Chase receives a 4-year, $161 million deal, making him the highest-paid non-quarterback in NFL history, with an average annual salary of $40.3 million, the first wide receiver to surpass $35 million annually. Higgins' extension is a 4-year, $115 million contract. The Texans have agreed to terms with cornerback Jarrett Stingley Jr. on a 3-year, $90 million extension that includes $89 million guaranteed, according to NFL Network insider Ian Rappaport. Stingley's $30 million per year salary sets a new benchmark for defensive backs. The Eagles and tackle Lane Johnson have agreed to a new 1-year extension through 2027. Johnson will earn $48 million over the 2 years, including $40 million guaranteed, per Ian Rappaport. This has been NFL Network Now on the Westwood One Radio Network.
I had the worst dream last night. You were in a car crash and the kids and I were on our own. We had to move out of the house because I couldn't afford it anymore.
It's awful, huh?
My brother got life insurance from Ethos and it only took 10 minutes. And he got $2 million in coverage for around $2 a day. It's all online, no medical exam. He just answered a few health questions right from his house.
Ethos, here we come.
Visit ethos.com/sports. Ethos.com/sports.
Sample rate is a 10-year term life policy for 35-year-old healthy, non-smoking male. Billed monthly.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers. So we build specially adapted homes at Homes for Our Troops. And thanks to our donors and supporters, this life-changing gift of freedom is provided mortgage-free to these veterans. But we need you to join us too in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Now, from Wichita's most listened to sports radio, 97.5 and 1240 KFH. This is Sports Daily with Jacob Albrock and Tommy Kester.
Hey, welcome in, everybody. Happy Tuesday to you here on Sports Daily. Glad to be with you. Jacob Albrock, Tommy Kester. We've got you for a little while here on Sports Daily every morning on KFH, and we're happy to be here with you. It is tournament week. We've got the Shockers playing tonight in the NIT. A lot of fun stuff coming up for you this week. We've got tournament games coming to Wichita. There is Major League Baseball happening now in Japan, which is pretty cool. Got a Japan series, the Dodgers, full of Japanese players, which is kind of cool, over taking on the Cubs over there. I like that we do this, but real baseball, these games will count. The Dodgers are leading that game 3-1 in the 7th. How weird does that sound to say out loud? But we've got that for you. We'll catch up on some of the stuff we couldn't talk about yesterday with the NFL because we were having a great time with the Blarney Breakfast and talking a lot of bracketology and those kinds of things. But we'll get a little more time on that, including on the Chiefs. Our Chiefs insider, Felix Johnson, joins the show. I feel like the Chiefs are being way, way, way overlooked so far in this offseason. I'll tell you why. See if Tommy and maybe Felix agree with me on that. But we'll get into all of that. Your calls, welcome, 869-1240. If you're listening to us on KFH, if you're watching us on the video stream, you can leave us your comments right there, whether you're watching on Facebook, on YouTube, on X. Thanks to everybody watching us on 12 News Plus. And thanks for everybody listening to us on the Odyssey app, where you can leave us voice messages no matter when you're listening to us, because, of course, you can do that at your discretion through the podcast or however it is. We're glad to have you any way we can get you. A couple of contests today. We'll do some giveaways. Tommy, good morning. How are you?
Yeah, happy Tuesday. Good to see you today. I can definitely tell those allergies are in full force with you today. I noticed it yesterday.
Is
I
it
think it's
because of the way I look, or is it because of the way I sound?
All of the above, I would
Yeah.
say.
Yeah, it's bad. We're bad. We're in the bad part. You just have to, if you're an allergy sufferer like me here in this part of the world, you know that it's time to just power through. I mean, I look like, I don't even know what I would describe my eyes at right now in the video stream, but they
You
feel
look
like they look.
You look like you're coming off like a 4-day bender, with the puffy eyes and all, which you might be coming off a 4-day bender. I don't know that.
Yeah, don't judge me. It's bad, man. It sucks. I hate it so much. But it means that we're done with the winter for the most part, even though we're supposed to get like a blizzard of sorts tonight. It means the winter is on the way out. So you just kind of grin and bear it. Nothing you can do. I come from a land of no trees. There are no trees where I'm from. I didn't see flowers on trees until I moved here. Well, you pay the price for that. And right now I'm dead set in the middle of it. So apologies for the way I sound and perhaps for the way I look to those watching right now on our video streams. Well, it's bracketology, Tommy. I love it. We got Wichita State tonight, though. They're out in the NIT. They head to Stillwater. Some of the story comes out from Coach Paul Mills yesterday, having to text and try to get players to come back, and everybody's fine, learning from his daughter. It's a really interesting situation, and you hope that everybody in those circumstances can get hyped up. But it sounds like the NIT invitations were a bit of a mess across the board. Not just Wichita State wasn't the only program dealing with this. I think this happened to a lot of folks, but like we talked about yesterday, I'm glad they're there. And now you hope with all the weird circumstances they can get there. I don't think they're going to be able to practice. Sounds like just kind of a shoot around and go. Maybe that's a good thing. I don't know. But here we are with postseason basketball starting tonight.
Yeah, I don't know if you heard about the story with, I think it was the University of South Alabama, and how they were originally extended an invite to the NIT, and then that invite was taken away from them because another team had gotten, I think, both a CBI bid and an NIT bid. And I think the NIT apparently was told that the other team was locked into the CBI. So they extended an invite to South Alabama. Then that original team said, actually, no, we'll play in the NIT. And then the NIT took the invite away from South Alabama. So it's been a mess all the way around. It's weird to me because it's not like this is the first year we've done the NIT. Like, this has gone on every single year. Like, how is it such an issue and such a cluster this year out of all years when we've done this all the time? I don't understand.
I don't know what happened this year. It's weird, and that sucks for them. And that's what I mean. You just have to be able to sort of shake this off. You'd sure like to be playing games at home in these circumstances, right? That feels a little different. But hey, if you want a true feel of postseason basketball and the chaotic nature of the travel, and here it is. And for the Shockers, here's an opportunity to go beat a team that they're capable of beating. Big 12 team. The way they've been playing, they can do it if they take care of the ball, but play the level of basketball, we'll call it, that they did in the conference. Even in the loss in Memphis, they had, they limit some of those second half turnovers against Memphis, right? Memphis, who's better than Oklahoma State. They'd won that game. And so I like their chances. There wasn't a line yesterday. Let me see if there's an early morning line on that game today. We've got Wichita State as a 5.5-point road dog, Tommy. That feels too much to me.
I think the one thing with this team that you got to understand with Oklahoma State is that they like to play extremely fast. They get up and down the court. If you watched Oklahoma State play at all this season, you know that to be the case, where, they get up and down, they play with tempo, and really, like, Bryce Thompson has been kind of the mainstay on this team for, a long time. But they've got a couple of other really, big time threats on this team. Arturo Dean is one of them. Chichi Avery has been great off the bench, averaging double figures for Steve Lutz's team. So Wichita State's going to have to keep up with Oklahoma State. They're going to have to get up and down the floor. They're going to have to find a way to defend. And what they can't do is they can't, while they're trying to keep up with Oklahoma State, they can't get out of their rhythm. They can't try to play too fast, and then ultimately turn the ball over. I would say that would be my major concern. My biggest concern going into tonight is looking at somebody like Bijan Cortez, who has been pretty stellar the last few weeks, playing too fast to try to keep up with Oklahoma State, and that's when the turnovers start happening. They've got to get back to Shocker basketball that we saw in the first round, the first game they played in the conference tournament, and not the kind of turnover output that they had against Memphis. That's going to be the major key to the game for me.
Well, here's the other part for Bijan Cortez. It's a home game for him, right? This is the closest. He grew up very close to Stillwater. So there's going to be, and I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, a lot of probably extra motivation and energy when you talk about taking care of the basketball and doing those things. Reality is they've had to have his offense, though. Like, they've had to have it. They had to have it against him. They've had to have it just about every game lately, and they'll probably need it tonight. So, yeah, take care of the ball, but be aggressive. He's got to be aggressive because they need it in this game. But we'll have more on that as we make our way through.
He's got to be aggressive, but he can't play out of control. And I think that's the line, and especially when you're playing a team like Oklahoma State that likes to get up and down, right. That's one thing that you're going to have to be really careful about.
And he's mostly done a good job of protecting that in his expanded offensive role, right? Like, he, in the last two games specifically, we were like, put the ball in Bijan's hands, which has been cool to see his development. But maybe you can get he and Xavier Bell on the same page, both good in a game, and then watch out. That's going to create a lot of opportunities on offense. But we'll get more into that game when we come back. Let's talk about this KU draw. I've got heard a lot of mixed reviews on the draw. Some people love it. I do. Some people don't like it at all. They think Arkansas is really good. So we'll talk about that when we return. It's Sports Daily on a Tuesday. It's tournament week, counting down the seconds until we get postseason basketball here. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
66 counties, 4 regions, and 1 weather team that you can trust. Find Storm Team 12 every weekday at 5:30 on the KSCW. Whatever the weather and wherever you are, Storm Team 12 is zooming in, going zone by zone to give you a more in-depth look at the forecast and some science behind the storms so you know more. We're focusing on the forecast so you can focus on what's important to you. Storm Team 12 Weather Focus, 5:30 on the KSCW.
The future of television has arrived. Next Gen TV is here with stunning video, movie theater quality sound, enhanced voice clarity, and interactive features, all upgradable for the future. Learn more at watchnextgentv.com.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea.
With 20 plus flavors of sweet and unsweet iced tea, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite, or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say, drink tea, be happy.
It's the canvas of our imagination. They tell a story. Clouds affect the events of your day. Sometimes they growl, sometimes they inspire, but they're always the messengers of nature's mood written in the sky. Storm Team 12 understands the language of clouds. We're dedicated to decoding their message so you know what to expect. Behind every cloud, there is a story waiting to be told. Trust Ross Jansen and Storm Team 12, alerting you first to the impact on your life.
When you need help, remember, you're not alone. We are here. We are neighbors. We are together. We are Kansas. We are 12 News.
What is GMFB Overtime?
It's Peter, Jamie, Kyle, and Akbar breaking down the NFL 5 days a week.
It's okay to be excited.
It's this, that, and a whole lot of... It's football for everyone.
Weekdays at 10 a.m. on KSCW.
Are following a breaking update.
Every day, all day,
Stream the stories that have you talking near and far.
Whoever is behind the wheel of this bus is not stopping.
From hundreds of local reporters and meteorologists spanning the country.
Chaos here this morning at the UW campus.
Search LNL for the all-new Local News Live streaming app.
Make yourself known now.
31001 in traffic pursuit.
Oh my God, here.
Investigate TV Plus begins with real people.
We investigate stories that impact you
And inspire change every day.
Something is broken.
Real problems.
Why are they hiding it?
And real solutions.
My daughter was dying in front of me.
What was your reaction when he said that?
Investigate TV Plus, weekdays at 3:30 p.m. on KWCH.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea.
With 20 plus flavors of sweet and unsweet iced tea, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say drink tea, be happy.
Mornings are busy. We're here to make your mornings better. We report the stories that affect you.
3 more hospital lives from contaminated apple juice just a day after the FDA issue a recall.
We're here to make your mornings better.
Closing east and westbound lanes of K96 for repairs.
With 12 News, you're prepared for your whole day.
Scattered thunderstorms across the state into the afternoon.
Stay a step ahead with 12 News this morning on KWCH and KSCW.
All right, welcome back, everybody, here to Sports Daily. Jacob Albrock, Tommy Castor with you. We are glad to be with you. We want to tell you about a little contest we got going. So Tommy's been sporting a lot of cool stuff, especially on Fridays from the 35 by 70 Golf Co. for a while now. We've got your opportunity to get your hands on a little bit of that swag, that style too. $120 gift card we're giving away this week, and you can enter the contest once every day until Friday when we get off the air. All you have to do to enter is text the keyword golf to the short code 20357. That's golf, GOLF, if you can't understand me through my allergy brain, to the short code 20357. Message and data rates apply. You can see the webpage at kfhradio.com for more details on that. But glad to be able to do that. Get folks in there and check out some of that cool gear they've been seeing.
Yeah, they've got great golf apparel. We're talking golf shirts. We're talking hoodies. We're talking hats, head covers. You name it, they've got it online, 35x70golfco.com for your chance to win a $120 gift card to their online store. They're a locally owned Wichita-based golf apparel company, and we're excited to have this contest.
Yeah, it'll be fun. Good luck, everybody. So we have that for you today. We'll give away a little HTO as well later. Lots of cool stuff coming this week. Don't forget, we'll be live out at Intrust Bank Arena Thursday and Friday. Thursday morning, be a little bit chilly.
It'll be cold. Bundle up. Bring the hat and the gloves and the coat. It'll be cold.
You know, just I don't know, below freezing as we're acclimated to 80 degrees today. No, can we get is it too much to ask to get like a barn or something built out there?
Hey, this is March, right? Like it's, one day beautiful. The next day it's like a windstorm, blizzard, fire danger day. Then it gets cold and then it gets warm again. Then the wind, like it's just like this cycle of the way that the month of March usually is.
I will say the forecast for the tournament looks perfect. Once we get through that cold morning Thursday, like I think we're 65 and sunny Thursday and like 69 and sunny Saturday. They're the only 2 days without wind. So all things considered, we'll take it. Please be careful out there today with the fire danger, especially after what we saw Friday. Please be careful traveling. Nothing knocked that dirt down that blew around Friday, and we do expect another pretty bad one today. Stay tuned to Storm Team 12 for all the latest on that, road conditions, everything else. They'll get you covered today. All right, Tommy, let's talk a little hoops. I'm looking at it's interesting. I have said, and I've said it for a long time though. Like, I love getting St. John's if you're KU. I hadn't really looked at the first round because it was too unpredictable. I actually like the first round matchup because for me, all I'm looking at is style and nothing else, quite frankly, because I think that's really all that matters for Kansas. Arkansas is talented. They could be getting healthy, and a lot of people think they were probably the best of those 10 seeds. But even still, before we get to St. John's, like, I think stylistically, that's the fit that you've wanted, or at least I have for KU. So I know that they're going to be more talented. They're a John Calipari team. But, man, like, does that really matter for KU?
I think that these teams, they actually mirror each other in several different ways.
Yeah.
Like, they've both been underwhelming this season. They both have a tremendous amount of talent. That's one thing about John Calipari is that wherever he goes, he can bring talent with him, and he's got talent at Arkansas. But they've underperformed this season, kind of along the same lines that Kansas has. But the one thing about this Razorbacks team is that they have shown this season that they can beat anybody on any given night. They've had, their fair share of games where they've not been favored to win, and they have won. The return matchup with Calipari against Kentucky, Arkansas won that game. They beat Vanderbilt when Arkansas wasn't favored. That was just earlier this month. They beat Texas in Austin when Texas had, obviously favored on their home court to win, and Arkansas won that game as well. So, to me, it shows that even though both of these squads have had fairly underwhelming seasons, and Arkansas for sure had much higher hopes in John Calipari's first season there in Fayetteville, they've shown that they can go and knock off teams when they're not favored against them. And so that's one thing that Kansas has got to make sure that they understand and they don't underestimate.
It's just I don't know. I think it's a good draw because, like, for me, and I get that Arkansas talent-wise is right there with anybody.
Sure they are.
But I'm okay with that. Okay, I'm okay with that versus playing a team on the 10 line who can come in and shoot the lights out, because I think that's a far greater threat. And I don't know if Vanderbilt or Utah State, who's the other 10? Who am I forgetting here?
Is Oklahoma a 10?
No, they're a 9.
They're a 9. Okay.
I don't know if either of those. Oh, New Mexico.
New Mexico. That's right. Colorado State's an 11.
So I don't know how, and it's not just the 3-point shooting, right? That's not the only thing that matters. Utah State has an offensive rating on KenPom 17. So they would have been a better offense. Let's look at New Mexico here. New Mexico has an offensive rating of 79. So maybe New Mexico would have been a better draw on the 10 line. I kind of like New Mexico to win a game here. And then Vanderbilt, who's probably going to be worse. They're top 30 offense. So look, of the 10s, you got by KenPom, you got basically the worst offense in Arkansas. Now they're getting healthy. So I don't know how much to weight health for a team that's not been healthy to all of a sudden now potentially be healthy just in this game. I don't know how we're supposed to evaluate that, right? Like, guys coming back that haven't been there for a while, who knows? But when you look at the style, like, we just didn't want Kansas to play a great offense. That's what's killed them this year. It has killed them this year when they've played really good offenses. So, yeah, give me a great defense and a bad offense if you're going to give me my choice. That's because Kansas is going to struggle to score no matter who they play. Great defense, bad defense, whatever it is. They're going to have to run their offense through Hunter Dickinson and hope to make some shots, but they're not going to come in and just dominate somebody, I don't think, on offense. Could they shoot the lights out in a random game? Anybody can in the tournament, right? But to me, it was more about not having to. So, yeah, give me a low-scoring, ugly kind of game. That's where I think Kansas has its best chance to win any game that they play.
Yeah, I mentioned this yesterday. I'm less concerned about the way that Kansas scores in the NCAA tournament because at least as of late, I feel like they've unlocked their offense a little bit more than that time when they were laboring to get any kind of offensive momentum going. I feel like they've improved in that regard. My major concern is about how do they stop other teams, and how do they not make even bad 3-point shooting teams look great. And Arkansas is not a good 3-point shooting team. If they can advance to the second round, St. John's is not a good 3-point shooting
and
team. That's an advantage for sure, right? That makes the draw better and more appealing to Kansas. But I've said it before and I'll say it again. Kansas has had a tendency to make even bad 3-point shooting teams look good. So they've got to make sure that they do not do that in the first 2 rounds of the NCAA tournament. Of course, it starts on Thursday. So that's my major focus because, in an overtime win against UCF in the Big 12 tournament, they put up 96 points or 98 points. In the game that they lost against Arizona in the second round of the Big 12 tournament that they played in that matchup, they still put up a bunch of points and they lost. So for me, it's not about how they're scoring because I think they're running things through Hunter Dickinson. KJ Adams is showing flashes. Zeke Mayo seems to be back to, his normal game of being able to help them with the outside shooting threat offensively. So it's not about that for me. It's about how do you keep the other team from scoring to be able to, find ways to close out beyond the arc, to find ways to force turnovers, to find ways to limit the second chance opportunities for Arkansas. Those are all the things that I'm going to be looking at for the game on Thursday.
Same here, but give me the teams that don't make 3-point shooting their MO every day.
Sure.
And that's the thing. That's what's made it so weird. So, did Kansas get the easiest 10 seed? No. They probably got the most difficult 10 seed. But they got the best matchup to their style. At the end of the day, that's all that matters for this Kansas team. Tommy was the preseason number 1, has a win over Duke, has a win over Michigan State, should have had at least one win over Houston. The talent discrepancy is not what I'm worried about for Kansas in the tournament. They're not going to play a team that they walk into the arena and just are overwhelmed by opposing talent. Kansas has plenty of talent. They're just not a good fit together. So what do they do when they do play well? They defend. And what has given them fits defensively all year? All year. Opposing 3-point shooting. The worst games they've had this year, that's what we're pulling our hair out, right? Because the other team's just getting too many open threes. That's all I'm looking at here. So it's like this double-edged that you're saying, I love these matchups. And how do you love these matchups? These are 2 good teams. They are 2 good teams, but they're 2 teams that fit. If Kansas has any chance, that's where it is, right? It's not that I think they're the worst 10 seed and the worst 2 seed. I don't at all. That's not what I think. I just think they're the best matchup for Kansas.
Well, and by the way, I mean, you mentioned that Arkansas is probably the best 10 seed. That's the way that it should be because by the seeding, Kansas was seeded as the worst 7 seed. They were the number 4 7 seed, according to the overall seeding from 1 to 68. So they should be playing the best 10 seed in that regard. And that, ends up being Arkansas, I would think. But from a matchup perspective, yeah, absolutely. They've got to make sure that, some of the things that have ailed them, especially in that loss in the Big 12 tournament against Arizona, was they weren't closing out. They weren't coming off of ball screens well. Those couple of things right there just made Arizona look like a sharpshooting 3-point team, and they're not. Arizona's not one of those teams. And so some of it is, finding better ways to, I guess, come off those ball screens. But then it also is a little bit of an effort thing. It's an energy thing. It's how do you close out? It's how do you get to where you need to be, get to your spots to at least contest a 3-point shot? Because that's the bottom line. You hit the nail on the head. when you said that it's not just about teams that are shooting a lot of threes, it's that teams are shooting a lot of wide open threes against Kansas. All the Jayhawks have to do against a team like Arkansas, in my opinion at least, is make it even like semi-difficult for them to get a three off. Like, you don't even need to have smothering three-point shooting defense against a team like Arkansas. Just get a hand up. Like, just close out a little bit more and make it that much more difficult on the Razorbacks to make those threes. And you'll probably be in good shape. So I don't feel like it's this like monumental task where you have to reinvent your perimeter defense to get a win. You just need to do a little bit more and you'll probably be okay in this first round matchup.
No, absolutely. And the other thing is for Kansas, just remember that, if we're looking at, Ken Palm and all these things, they've been a top 10 defense all year. And they finished the year at 11, right?
It's Jekyll and Hyde, as you know. It's a Jekyll and Hyde defensive effort, and
but
it
you got to remember the good there. It's not like they're always bad defensively. They're not. That's their strength. And I'll say this too. Like, there's a lot of, for me, like, get out there and do something about it for these older players. This is a team that even through it all, and you said the worst 7th seed. By Ken Palm, they'd be a 6th seed. So they're there, right? It's time to just get out and prove it. It's time to just get out and play well. It's time for Hunter Dickinson to say, you know what? For at least one game here, I'm going to come out. You come stop me, Arkansas, because I'm getting 25 and 12. Like, come do something about it. And then these other guys, we'll see if anybody makes shots. I don't know if they will or they won't. I don't even know how we predict that for Kansas. I mean, I love that Zeke Mayo's gotten hot. I don't know how you predict it, though. The only thing we can predict is that they'll come out and play great defense. Outside of Hunter Dickinson being the focal point on offense, the only thing we can and should count on for Kansas is that they'll come out and play great defense.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's, something that you've got to absolutely count on. I mean, you've got to have Hunter Dickinson, put up the stats that he's, expected to do. And I think you mentioned 25 and 12. I'd be okay with 20 and 10,
Sure.
or 20 and 8, so 20 and 9.
Right.
I know. I'm just saying, like, I think that he's going to be able to get his, and he has pretty much consistently throughout the course of the season. It's been, I think it's been encouraging that we've seen Zeke Mayo be able to make some shots, because the stretch of games when Kansas was at its worst towards the end of the Big 12 regular season, I don't think it's any coincidence that the Jayhawks were at their worst when Zeke Mayo was at his worst, right? Like that's part of it, because I know that the foundation of the team is Hunter Dickinson, but Zeke Mayo has been the straw that stirs the drink. And when his shooting has been off, and when he's, gone out there and gone 1 for 7 from the field or 2 for 9 from the field, that's when we've really seen Kansas labor offensively, because they don't have a whole lot of other go-to options. And defenses know that. That was a big concern early in the season, was that there really wasn't another threat other than Hunter Dickinson. Defenses weren't taking DeJuan Harris or KJ Adams seriously offensively, and Zeke Mayo hadn't come into his own. So they could all just collapse onto Hunter Dickinson and make it really, really difficult on Hunter to do what he needed to do offensively. When Mayo began his ascent, and when he was able to find his rhythm and get his stride going, that's when things got a whole lot better for Kansas. He came off of that for a stretch, but it's encouraging that he's back to that. And, you might feed everything through Dickinson, and absolutely that's like priority number one. But Mayo has got to understand, and I'm sure he does, he's got to understand that, at least in my opinion, the overall ceiling of this team in March is kind of on his shoulders, I think. Because, I mean, let's be real. Hunter Dickinson, we've seen this multiple times. Hunter Dickinson can go for 25 and 12, and the Jayhawks can lose.
Sure.
Right? Like that's happened. On the flip side, Zeke Mayo, I think if he goes 4 for 6 or 5 for 7 from the field, 3 of 4 from beyond the arc, I don't think Kansas loses. So I think that from an offensive point of view, you absolutely have to have his production. He's got to be shooting well if the Jayhawks want to at least make it to the second weekend.
Hunter Dickinson, will have to, I think, provide the baseline. Look for DeJuan Harris, too, who's taken at least 7 shots in it's about 6 of his last 8 games or something like that. Like, he has lately in most games started to at least become more aggressive. I think he's the other guy. I don't think they can put Diggy Coit out there unless they're in trouble, because I think defensively he can't yet give them what they need, and they have to be great defensively. I think if we see a lot of Diggy, it could be a heat check if we do, but it's more likely that they're getting desperate for some offense. I think otherwise you're going to see that defensive sort of rotation that we've seen for a lot of the year, and I agree with it. But I think it's the right way to go. I think it's the right way to play it, to play it that way. All right, we're going to come back. Let's talk a little football when we return. We'll catch up on some of the big free agency things that we didn't get a chance to yesterday. And I want to sort of get this out there so we can talk to Felix Johnson about, are the Chiefs getting enough credit for the offseason that they're having? Do we think it's a good offseason? We'll talk about it all when we return on Sports Daily.
66 counties, 4 regions, and 1 weather team that you can trust. Find Storm Team 12 every weekday at 5:30 on the KSCW. Whatever the weather and wherever you are, Storm Team 12 is zooming in, going zone by zone to give you a more in-depth look at the forecast and some science behind the storms so you know more. We're focusing on the forecast so you can focus on what's important to you. Storm Team 12 Weather Focus, 5:30 on the KSCW.
The future of television has arrived. Next Gen TV is here with stunning video, movie theater quality sound, enhanced voice clarity, and interactive features, all upgradable for the future. Learn more at watchnextgentv.com.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea.
With 20 plus flavors of sweet and unsweet iced tea, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite, or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say, drink tea, be happy.
It's the canvas of our imagination. They tell a story. Clouds affect the events of your day. Sometimes they growl, sometimes they inspire, but they're always the messengers of nature's mood, written in the sky. Storm Team 12 understands the language of clouds. We're dedicated to decoding their message so you know what to expect. Behind every cloud, there is a story waiting to be told. Trust Ross Jansen and Storm Team 12, alerting you first to the impact on your life.
When you need help, remember, you're not alone. We are here. We are neighbors. We are together. We are Kansas. We are 12 News.
They say,
What is GMFB overtime?
It's Peter, Jamie, Kyle, and Akbar breaking down the NFL 5 days a week.
It's okay to be excited.
It's this, that, and a whole lot of... It's football for everyone.
Weekdays at 10 a.m. on KSCW.
Are following a breaking update.
Every day, all day, stream the stories that have you talking near and far.
Whoever is behind the wheel of this bus is not stopping.
From hundreds of local reporters and meteorologists spanning the country.
Chaos here this morning at the UW campus.
Search LNL for the all-new Local News Live streaming app.
Make yourself known now.
310-01 in traffic pursuit.
Oh my God, here.
Investigate TV Plus begins with real people.
We investigate stories that impact you.
And inspire change every day.
Something is broken.
Real problems.
Why are they hiding it?
And real solutions.
My daughter was dying in front of me.
What was your reaction when he said that?
Investigate TV Plus, weekdays at 3:30 p.m. on KWCH.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea.
With 20 plus flavors of sweet and unsweet iced tea, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say drink tea, be happy.
Mornings are busy. We're here to make your mornings better. We report the stories that affect you.
3 more hospital lies from contaminated apple juice just a day after the FDA issue a recall.
We're here to make your mornings better.
Closing east and westbound lanes of K96 for repairs.
With 12 News, you're prepared for your whole day.
Scattered thunderstorms across the state into the afternoon.
Stay a step ahead with 12 News this morning on KWCH and KSCW.
Age.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. Glad to be here with you. If you have a home construction need, Pepin Suter should be on your list of calls. Let Pepin bid that project, and you'll quickly see why they were the choice for our home renovation. We'd had a kitchen, we had a basement done, converted a dining room into an office for us. Really redid a lot of things in our house, and their work was top-notch. Their customer service was even better, and they helped us every step of the way, including now when we have questions about things. Call Pepin, 316-573-6822. Go to pepinsuter.com. You can see some of that work. A lot of people doing spring projects, getting the outdoor areas cleaned up. Pepin can handle any of that stuff. So give them a call again, 316-573-6822. And see why we used them and we recommend them for our home renovation needs. And we're glad to have their support here on Sports Daily. Welcome back in, everybody. It is Jacob Albrocht and Tommy Castor. It is Sports Daily as we are rocking and rolling on the Tuesday of tournament week. We have play-in games tonight, one of which should be really, really good. You get the San Diego State, North Carolina game tonight. We got the Shockers playing tonight, which is great. They'll play Oklahoma State in the NIT. So a lot of good basketball happening this evening. Can't wait for all of it. Major League Baseball happening right now in Japan as the Dodgers are extending a late lead against the Cubs to open the Major League Baseball season. Did this last year. Look, I love that baseball's doing this. I think they did it in Korea last year. Is that right? And then this year it moved to Japan, I believe is how they did that. Keep it up. Keep it going. I think it's a great idea. We've had a Japanese infusion here in the last few years that is absolutely making the game of baseball better. It is an international game, and I love that baseball's embracing that more than ever before. So this is cool. I'm glad they're there. I'm glad they're there for those players and for us to be able to see it, to grow the game and do all those things. I'd love to go to Japan. Quick aside. I want to go to Japan. I want to watch some baseball from the Japanese league. I want to go up into the mountains with all the samurai stuff. I want to see Tokyo. I want to go to Japan. Japan's on my list.
I can see you. I can see you being a pretty solid samurai, to be honest with you.
Yeah, Last Samurai is it's in my top 5 movies of all time. Tom Cruise, underrated movie, criminally underrated movie. I love that movie so much. I remember walking out of that.
My top 5, but it's good.
Top 5. I walked out of that movie more as hyped up as any movie I'd ever seen. I remember I went and saw it with buddies. What were we at? Either high school or maybe even early college when that movie came out. I was ready. I was like, let's go get in a fight. Let's just go. We'll win no matter. It was a good movie. I love that movie. Glad baseball's over in Japan. All right, let's talk football, Tommy. Not a lot of football over in Japan that I know of anyway. So the big move, and let's dig in here because it sets up sort of who in this offseason have made themselves more of a threat to the Chiefs. And we'll focus on the AFC briefly. But the Bengals go and they make their move. They were going to have to do something, right? We've seen Hendrickson go on the trade block. I wonder if there's not a little bit of bluff there from the Bengals to say, yeah, go see if you can find a suitor, because his is going to come with contract signing, and his is likely now going to come with, I would assume, a record-setting deal, right? Don't you think? Like, his production's right there with anybody. And we saw Max Crosby reset the market. Then we saw Myles Garrett reset the market. Hendrickson probably wants the same thing if he wants to do this. So now if you're a team, you got to be willing to trade up big-time draft capital. So I don't know. Maybe he's back. Maybe the Bengals let him get out there and test it on purpose. But they do make the decision to keep their quarterback happy, and they bring back both Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. And you've got a situation where Jamar Chase essentially becomes the highest paid wide receiver 1, and T. Higgins becomes the highest paid wide receiver 2. By far the most money invested in wide receiver in the NFL. And while I think that's, it's going to make their offense better, I got to tell you, I love both of those players. Big picture, I don't think it's the right move.
Yeah, I think it's a mistake. I think that they probably should have kept one and not the other. And I honestly, to me, I don't think it particularly matters. I mean, yeah, Chase is a wide receiver 1.
Oh, you keep chasing
for sure. But from a like you put in everything together, you put financials, you put all of that. Like, had Chase walked away and Higgins stayed, I think they would have been fine. So yeah, you probably prefer Chase, but either one of them would have been fine. I would have been okay with them re-signing one and letting the other walk. But tying up all that money in 2 wide receivers, I think is a mistake long-term for them. I think they've basically mortgaged their future to be able to have 2 really great wide receivers, and that's going to be fine in the short term. But I think it really hamstrings them to be able to put together the kind of team that they need to actually win a Super Bowl.
And look, you got to keep Joe Burrow happy. And the other thing that we don't know
Joe
yet.
Burrow could be happy with just Jamar Chase.
Yeah, but he said, like, they've been pretty public about the desire for those 3 to stay together. And the only thing I'll say for it is, like, there are worse moves to make, right? There are worse financial decisions for teams to make. These Higgins and Chase are fantastic. So from that angle, like, they're re-signing really talented players. I think what we'll have to see over time is, what does it cost you? The Bengals aren't traditionally like the best drafting team. They're not bad. They're not one of the best. Can they hit a few home runs in the draft? And can they figure out a way for a team? And the other part is, like, if you ask Bengals fans, they never spend any money. So I think Bengals fans are a little bit excited about that. Just that. How much can you restructure these 3 deals? I think that's what becomes really important, right? Like, can you take these 3 contracts for these 3 players and just continuously restructure them in order to free yourself up? A lot of teams do it, right? We see the Chiefs do it all the time. The Cowboys just did it. They didn't spend any of their money. What's worse, Tommy? The Cowboys just freed up $60 million. They didn't spend any of it.
Well, I mean, they spent a little bit of it on, on players that I think are low impact guys for them.
Yeah,
but yeah,
for all intents and purposes, which would you rather see, right? If you're a fan, or let's I mean, because not even just if you're a fan, if you're evaluating the teams getting better, like, which one would you rather see? Because the Bengals still have all the restructure money. Teams like the Chiefs, they've restructured, and we'll get to them in just a second, and they've utilized it to have, in my opinion, a better offseason than I thought they'd even be able to have, financially speaking. Or teams like the Cowboys, they restructure it, they free up all the money, and they don't spend any of the money. Now there's nobody else really out there to go spend it on. So, which is it? Which is better? I think that. So I think the Bengals got it wrong. I'll say that again. I don't think they made the right decision, but I think there are worse decisions to make than to re-sign 2 incredible wide receivers to go with one of the best quarterbacks in football and just, take your chances that way. I think there are worse outcomes than that. So, and I think it's good for Burrow, and I think it's good for the fans, and it's good for offense, which I'm always a fan of.
I think it's okay to say that the strategies from both the Bengals and the Cowboys are not good in different
Well,
ways.
sure. Yeah.
And yeah, I know you probably it's easy to want to try to rank them and say which one's better. They're both down at the bottom as far as their offseason strategies are concerned. I think the Bengals tying up all that money in 2 wide receivers is going to come back to bite them. Maybe not this season, but at least in the future. I think it does.
Bite them if they lose Trey Hendrickson, right? Like if it
For
costs
sure.
them Trey Hendrickson, that's
Absolutely. And I think that for the Cowboys, they've got all this money burning a hole in their pocket, and they're not doing anything of impact. They're not doing anything of substance in this offseason. And that's not surprising. That's the way that it's been lately. And you've got
for 20 years.
for a long time. You've got a lot of this money in your pocket, and you're not doing anything with it to make your team better. So I think it's okay to say that both strategies in different ways are bad for both the Bengals and the Cowboys.
All right, let's bring it back to the Chiefs then, because the Bengals the Bengals make a move that could potentially shake what's happening in the AFC. I think there's a chance they're okay for this year, but they got to draft well. We haven't seen the draft. We've seen the Ravens go add DeAndre Hopkins. We've seen them re-sign Ronnie Stanley. I think you have to stack their offseason up. The Bills have gone and made some moves to make themselves better.
Joey Bosa is now a Bill, effectively replacing Von Miller.
And they've made themselves better, probably defensively. And I think they're going to just inherently get better offensively because they leaned on some young players last year. So the Bills have certainly gotten better. I think the Texans have probably, at least for 1 year, gotten worse. Am I forgetting a major contender in the AFC? I don't think I am. So then it takes us to the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs have done a remarkable job this offseason. I did not think they would be able to keep this much back from last year. I think where it gets, because I've seen a lot of places grade the Chiefs' offenses offseason as bad, but I don't understand why. And I think we forget all the time that the Chiefs had one real regular season loss last year. And I know a lot of those games were lucky wins. I'll even go so far as to call them lucky wins. They had so many injuries last year and still did that. Running it back is not a bad option for the Chiefs. Did they go get their premier blue chip left tackle? They did not. But there was only one of those, maybe in Ronnie Stanley out there, who's an injury-prone guy anyway. I thought the pivot was great. I did not expect them to be able to bring back Nick Bolton and bring back Hollywood Brown and bring back Juju Smith-Schuster. And a lot of these players, yes, they have some work to do defensively, but I think they've essentially, through the offseason and before the draft, like, Tommy, they could do nothing else offensively, and I would be fine with this offense going through. And that just means you can focus all your attention on a defense that has to retool a little bit. I think they've done a really, really good job.
I'm going to hedge a little bit. I don't think that they've had a good or a bad offseason. I think they've been right down the middle. It's been satisfactory, I guess, for me. And I know that that's not taking a definitive stand one way or the other. But I certainly went into this offseason thinking that they were going to have to make some pretty monumental changes personnel-wise offensively, and they didn't do that. And that's why I mentioned this yesterday on the show, and I'll say it again. They need to have some changes and improvements in the way that their offense runs. They were a league average offense. When you have probably the best quarterback in a generation leading a league average offense, there are issues there with the personnel. And if you're not going to improve it personnel wise, you're going to have to improve it from a play calling perspective. You're going to have to find other ways and other, different ways to scheme up the offense, to deploy the weapons to be able to get more out of the offense. And I know injuries. I know Rashee Rice was out. And Hollywood Brown. I get it. Like, look, like you can always fall. Every team always has injuries. Like that can't be the fallback. It happens all the time. You've got to be able to deploy your weapons who are available at that time in the most advantageous way possible. So if they're not going to do anything monumental personnel wise offensively, and they didn't, they've got to try to find better ways to deploy those weapons schematically so they don't have just a pedestrian league average offense for another season.
See, I think they did, though, because it wasn't just Rashee Rice. It was also Hollywood Brown. And when Hollywood Brown came back toward the end of the year, the offense did get a whole lot better. So if you take the end of the year offense and you subtract DeAndre Hopkins and you add Rashee Rice, at least for part of the season, I think they've gotten better. I do. I think there's a chance that the line is better. I think there's a chance the line is still bad. I think
the line is a wash. I think it ends up being a wash. You got better at left tackle, probably. You got worse at left guard.
You got to look as losing Joe Thuney and replacing him with Kingsley and more are not. You're not going to be better, but you could be better for what you need, right? Like I think there's a chance they're better at left tackle than they were with having Thuney play out of position. But there's almost certainly no chance they'll be as good at left guard. So I don't know the true impact of that yet. It's hard to say. But I think skill position-wise, they're better, at least going into the season, because Hollywood Brown is now there again. And at some point, we'll just assume it's at the start of the season for this conversation, you've added Rashee Rice. So is Rice an upgrade over DeAndre Hopkins? I would say he is. And then Hollywood adds what he was beginning to add at the end. All right. We'll talk to Felix Johnson about that in hour number 2, which is coming up next. So don't go away. It's more Sports Daily right after this.
66 counties, 4 regions, and 1 weather team that you can trust. Find Storm Team 12 every weekday at 5:30 on the KSCW. Whatever the weather and wherever you are, Storm Team 12 is zooming in, going zone by zone to give you a more in-depth look at the forecast and some science behind the storms so you know more. We're focusing on the forecast so you can focus on what's important to you. Storm Team 12 Weather Focus, 5:30 on the KSCW.
The future of television has arrived. Next Gen TV is here with stunning video, movie theater quality sound, enhanced voice clarity, and interactive features, all upgradable for the future. Learn more at watchnextgentv.com.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea.
With 20 plus flavors of sweet and unsweet iced tea, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say drink tea, be happy.
It's the canvas of our imagination. They tell a story. Clouds affect the events of your day. Sometimes they growl, sometimes they inspire, but they're always the messengers of nature's mood written in the sky. Storm Team 12 understands the language of clouds. We're dedicated to decoding their message so you know what to expect. Behind every cloud, there is a story waiting to be told. Trust Ross Jansen and Storm Team 12, alerting you first to the impact on your life.
When you need help, remember, you're not alone. We are here. We are neighbors. We are together. We are Kansas. We are 12 News.
What is GMFB Overtime?
It's Peter, Jamie, Kyle, and Akbar breaking down the NFL 5 days a week.
It's okay to be excited.
It's this, that, and a whole lot of... It's football for everyone.
Weekdays at 10 a.m. on KSCW.
Are following a breaking update.
Every day, all day, stream the stories that have you talking near and far.
Whoever is behind the wheel of this bus is not stopping.
From hundreds of local reporters and meteorologists spanning the country.
Chaos here this morning at the UW campus.
Search LNL for the all-new Local News Live streaming app.
Make yourself known now. 831001 in traffic pursuit.
Oh my God, here.
Investigate TV Plus begins with real people.
We investigate stories that impact you.
And inspire change every day.
Something is broken.
Real problems.
Why are they hiding it?
And real solutions.
My daughter was dying in front of me.
What was your reaction when he said that?
Investigate TV Plus, weekdays at 3:30 p.m. on KWCH.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea.
With 20 plus flavors of sweet and unsweet iced tea, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say drink tea, be happy.
Mornings are busy. We're here to make your mornings better. We report the stories that affect you.
3 more hospitalized from contaminated apple juice just a day after the FDA issued a recall.
We're here to make your mornings better.
Closing east and westbound lanes of K96 for repairs.
With 12 News, you're prepared for your whole day.
Scattered thunderstorms across the state into the afternoon.
Stay a step ahead with 12 News this morning on KWCH and KSCW.
Now, from Wichita's most listened to sports radio, 97.5 and 1240 KFH. This is Sports Daily with Jacob Albrock and Tommy Kester.
All right. How's everybody doing here? Another hour of Sports Daily coming your way. We're rocking and rolling on a Tuesday. It's going to be fun. If you want to win some HTO, let's do it right now. You can enter a contest. Text the keyword T to the short code 20357, and that'll get you a free iced tea. More than 26 flavors to choose from, all kinds of fun drinks. The Poppy collaboration is happening right now. And, Tommy, I can tell you today it's double points day. So if you have the HTO app, you can get double points. And it's what we call Best Tea Tuesday, which means you can get 2 iced teas for $5. So you can win a free one with us or go in and get a special deal today at HTO. Again, that's T to 20357. You can enter once per day. Message and data rate supply. Good luck, everybody. We make our way to Sports Daily's next hour, and we've got college basketball. We are talking NFL offseason here. We'll have Felix Johnson in just a few minutes, and he'll join us to talk about this Chiefs offseason. Tommy says it's a wash. I say it's a good offseason. We looked at some of the AFC contenders. Let's go over to the NFC. I think the Eagles have lost more than people were giving them credit. I think that's good news for the Chiefs. I think the Lions are gaining ground for sure in the NFC. They've added a big piece in the secondary. They'll get Hutchinson back to that defense, and they'll have a draft to go address some things. They don't need to do much offensively. So they're kind of like that. They can just go swing at a bunch of young defensive players and get a little bit better there. So I think we've probably slept on their offseason just a little bit. I think the Niners have gotten worse. I think the Vikings have gotten better around quarterback. We still have to see what they're going to do at quarterback. And I think the Rams have gotten better.
Let me give you my team. I think the Commanders have been phenomenal this offseason. They were already really good, and they have gotten that much stronger. I agree. If the offseason ended today, I know the Eagles are the Eagles, and they're coming off a Super Bowl championship. I don't know if I can say that I would pick the Commanders over the Eagles at this point in the NFC East, but man, I certainly think that the Commanders have strengthened themselves as the top challenger, at least in that division, to the Eagles.
Yeah, in that division for sure. I mean, there's no question about that. I don't even know how I would power rank right now, because I think the Lions have been slept on. I think that I'm with you on the Commanders. I think the Rams, again, are being underrated here.
I think the Bears have improved themselves.
The Bears have improved a great deal, and I was going to bring them up. I don't know that they're not ready to contend yet. We need to see more from Caleb Williams, but they, like the Commanders, went in hyper-aggressive mode and attacked their needs big time. Those two teams have been the most aggressive this offseason for sure. And I think it's the right way to go, because I think the Niners are about to learn real quick what it's like to deal with a big quarterback contract. And so there are teams, to me, much closer to the Eagles roster-wise than there were a year ago. Every team we just mentioned, I think, has closed the gap to some degree. I think the Vikings, well, I can't say that with the Vikings because we got to see quarterback. The Rams, the Commanders, the Lions have all closed that gap. I'm not ready to call the Bears a contender yet, but I think those other three teams absolutely have done enough that it's not any foregone. I mean, the Rams played the Eagles tight in the playoffs already. Rams got better. The Eagles have gotten worse so far. They've gotten worse so far. Now, they had a lot of room to get worse and still be fine because of how talented they are and how good a job they've done with that roster. But they've faced plenty. I'm just looking for the NFC East right now, by the way. Commanders, the Commanders are just a little over 2-1 to win that division. So Vegas really likes what they've done too in their offseason. So it's going to be fun, right? It's going to be fun. We'll get Felix Johnson's take on it. Where do the Chiefs stack up and all that in this hour? Let's again spend a couple more minutes on the Shockers here tonight, Tommy. By the way, you'll hear the Shocker game tonight on KYN. 8 o'clock tip is at 7 o'clock. We've got really good college basketball. I can't wait for San Diego State, North Carolina. Like that game with the Shockers. Like bring it on. I think. By the way, I think either San Diego State or North Carolina is winning their first round game. But whatever you want to call this round, the actual first round, I think they're winning that game. I've got them penciled in. Whoever the 11 is penciled in. We always see it, right? Those play-in teams catch a little momentum there, and they carry. When was the last time a play-in team didn't win a game? I don't have to look that up.
I couldn't tell you. I don't know.
Time they do it all the time. We'll just put it that way. So I think that's a great game. But for the Shockers tonight, you mentioned Bijan Cortez. I'm with you. I think it needs to be a Bijan game. It's his. I wish it could be a Bijan and Xavier Bell game. It's interesting. I don't know how possible that even is, though, Tommy, because it's just been sort of like one of those guys has played that role to some degree. I think if you could get Bijan's confidence shooting it right now and have Bell recover a little bit with the ball in his hand to get to the free throw line, that's peak Shocker offense. Of course, in Corey Washington, given his regular steady Eddie approach. But I do feel good about it going into a tournament like this, that you kind of just have to hope one of those guys does their thing at guard.
Yeah, I don't think it has to necessarily be a Bijan Cortez game, but I do think that Bijan Cortez can't hurt the team. You can't have a bunch of turnovers. So if he's not putting up 20-plus points, he did that in the AAC tournament. He put up, I think, 20-plus against South Florida. He doesn't necessarily have to do that, I don't think, in this game against Oklahoma State, but you can't have, a few points on a bad shooting night and turn the ball over multiple times. So it doesn't have to be, I don't think it has to be amazing.
I think you can if Bell gives you a vintage Bell game where he goes 20-plus. I think you just have to have
still survive on a bunch of turnovers, because I'm not sure that you can.
Well, no, I just mean the offense. I'm
talking about his overall game.
Yeah, the Shockers.
He doesn't have to have the 20-plus point output. That's fine. He doesn't have to have that, I don't think, in this game to win. But you can't hurt the team. You can't turn the ball over a bunch of times.
I agree. What was the number that I made up for the Memphis game that they just went over? And I do think it's 12. The reason they lost the game. 12. Yeah. 12 or under. Same concept applies, right? You can't.
They were over 12 shortly after halftime
because they couldn't inbound the ball, right? Yeah. They did a decent job in the second half of the first half, and then it just all sort of unraveled on them. But I'm with you. And it's not rocket science. If you're a great defensive team, which I think they can be, relative to where they're playing, then you can't turn the ball over. If that's going to be your bread, that's no different than what we're talking about with Kansas. And Kansas turns it over way too much, by the way. If Kansas could cut their turnovers out, I would pick them to win all their games. But they turn it over 15 times a game pretty religiously. Wichita State doesn't have that kind of wiggle room. Wichita State can't do that. And so if you told me that they turned it over 12 times or fewer tonight, I'll tell you they'll win. I'm with you. I think it's that simple. They take care of the ball, they'll win, because I think they'll play that level of defense. And they're always going to struggle on offense. Like, that's not what they do. And it's not what they've done all year. So it's fine. I shouldn't say all year. Some of their bad stretch of basketball, they could score a bunch because they were giving up a ton of points, but that's not what they want to do. So I'm with you. Don't turn the ball over tonight. It's on you, Bijan Cortez and Xavier Bell. God, could you imagine both those guys play well together? Like, if both of those guys play well?
Yeah, I mean, if they both take care of the basketball and you've got one of them, being able to let it ride offensively and be that main guy making shots. And you mentioned Xavier Bell getting to the free throw line. I mean, that's a really critical part, I think, of his offensive game, and really a big reason why, even despite the loss against Memphis, they were able to stay in it, was because Xavier Bell was able to get to the free throw line and make those free throws.
They've had a lot of games this year where that is their offense. Bijan has added shot making to the offense that struggles with shot making so much. That's why I said, like, if you could get both, they got a really good chance in this thing. I mean, we looked at the bracket. There's not any teams in there. I mean, North Texas honestly feels the most dangerous. Like, if I was picking a team to win the NIT right now, I like North Texas, in the way that they play, and that may be the biggest threat to Wichita State. And I know they'd have to play them on the way to the regional, but they got a chance at this thing.
The good thing about having, 4 American teams in the field is that Wichita State's got experience against all of them. Whether it's good or bad, they've at least played them. Talking about North Texas, talking about UAB, Florida Atlantic, in there as well. So it's a pretty American-heavy bracket for the NIT. And I think another team I would mention is SMU, is in there, and they're a pretty solid team as well. So, I mean, like, there are a couple of teams that could be legitimate threats to win that title, but I do like Wichita State's path if they can get through Oklahoma State tonight.
Oh, Tommy, I just pulled up. SMU's, by the way, the favorite to win it. North Texas, you can get it 13-1. Looking at FanDuel right now. So SMU's 3.5. SMU's a heavy favorite. You can get North Texas at 13-1. What do you think you can get Wichita State at?
25-1?
200-1.
Holy cow.
We're putting some money on that during this break. Let's go. Felix Johnson's in with us next. Don't go away.
66 counties, 4 regions, and 1 weather team that you can trust. Find Storm Team 12 every weekday at 5:30 on the KSCW. Whatever the weather and wherever you are, Storm Team 12 is zooming in, going zone by zone to give you a more in-depth look at the forecast and some science behind the storms so you know more. We're focusing on the forecast so you can focus on what's important to you. Storm Team 12 Weather Focus, 5:30 on the KSCW.
The future of television has arrived. Next Gen TV is here with stunning video, movie theater quality sound, enhanced voice clarity, and interactive features, all upgradable for the future. Learn more at watchnextgentv.com.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea.
With 20 plus flavors of sweet and unsweet iced tea, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite, or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say, drink tea, be happy.
It's the canvas of our imagination. They tell a story. Clouds affect the events of your day. Sometimes they growl, sometimes they inspire, but they're always the messengers of nature's mood, written in the sky. Storm Team 12 understands the language of clouds. We're dedicated to decoding their message so you know what to expect. Behind every cloud, there is a story waiting to be told. Trust Ross Jansen and Storm Team 12, alerting you first to the impact on your life.
When you need help, remember, you're not alone. We are here. We are neighbors. We are together. We are Kansas. We are 12 News.
They say,
What is GMFB overtime?
It's Peter, Jamie, Kyle, and Akbar breaking down the NFL 5 days a week.
It's okay to be excited.
It's this, that, and a whole lot of It's football for everyone.
Weekdays at 10 a.m. on KSCW.
Are following a breaking update.
Every day, all day, stream the stories that have you talking near and far.
Whoever is behind the wheel of this bus is not stopping.
From hundreds of local reporters and meteorologists spanning the country.
Chaos here this morning at the UW campus.
Search LNL for the all-new Local News Live streaming app.
Make yourself known now.
310-01 in traffic pursuit.
Oh my God, here.
Investigate TV Plus begins with real people.
We investigate stories that impact you.
And inspire change every day.
Something is broken.
Real problems
Why are they hiding it?
and real solutions.
My daughter was dying in front of me.
What was your reaction when he said that?
Investigate TV Plus, weekdays at 3:30 p.m. on KWCH.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea.
With 20 plus flavors of sweet and unsweet iced tea, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say drink tea, be happy.
Mornings are busy. We're here to make your mornings better. We report the stories that affect you.
3 more hospitalized from contaminated apple juice just a day after the FDA issued a recall.
We're here to make your mornings better.
Closing east and westbound lanes of K96 for repairs.
With 12 News, you're prepared for your whole day.
Scattered thunderstorms across the state into the afternoon.
Stay a step ahead with 12 News this morning on KWCH and KSCW.
And now, digging deeper with the teams you follow, it's another Sports Daily Insider interview on KFH.
And that insider joining us is Felix Johnson. Felix, forgive us for a degenerate moment as an aside. We mentioned right before the break, you could get the Shockers NIT winners. Well, on DraftKings, they had it at 250 to 1. 250 to 1, baby. Tommy and I are paying for tax season here. We each threw $10 on that.
I was going to say that sounds like a nice little investment. You throw a little $10 on it, and then all of a sudden the Shockers are celebrating. You're celebrating too.
What could go wrong? What could go wrong?
Yeah, they could fall on their face today, but hopefully that doesn't happen.
Come on. It's tournament time. I have not got into my tournament bets yet at all. This is the first one I've done. That's why I gotta like reinvest and look into it because we go tonight. But Felix, we're of course here to talk football. We've been talking a little bit throughout the show. I think that the Chiefs offseason is being a little bit underrated. I would call it a good offseason. Tommy's calling it a wash for now. I actually think through getting players back healthy, I think offensive, and they haven't really done anything defensively, but offensively, I think the team is set to be better. Juju's back, Hollywood's back, Rashee Rice in some capacities back. Of course, we all look at the offensive line, and it becomes is more out there, better than Joe Tooney out of position, I guess. But I think they're better offensively walking in the door this year, assuming the players don't get hurt again.
I agree with that completely. I think that just having Patrick Mahomes at quarterback and then young players growing around him, your team is automatically going to get better just by happenstance and just by that's just how things go in the NFL. I think this offseason has been kind of interesting. I would have liked to see a little bit more. I guess maybe bringing back DeAndre Hopkins would have been a little interesting just because there wasn't a full season with him. There wasn't a full season with a full receiving core. And I think, like, even once you throw Rashee Rice into that mix, you have DeAndre Hopkins, you have Xavier Worthy. That's a full receiving core with everybody with roles where Rashee's your number one, DeAndre's your number two, your slot guy, or whatever the case may be. Andy Reid's smart enough to figure it out where everybody has their defined roles. And so I think this offseason has been very similar to what the Chiefs have done in the past. Their roster's very good, and they're just trying to figure out where they can make little improvements, and obviously the offensive line, and then going out and getting Christian Fulton, and then I think letting Justin Reed walk is the right move when you have a couple of different safeties that you've drafted that have started playing well for you. So I kind of lean more Tommy's way, where it's kind of a wash, where they just kind of have done the things that they have done the last few years.
Were you surprised at all with the decision to bring back Kareem Hunt for another season? Obviously, they signed Elijah Mitchell. I think that's kind of a dart throw and a hope that, he can return to his rookie form a few years ago. They've obviously got Isaiah Pacheco, and then they re-signed Kareem Hunt, which I certainly didn't see coming. I'm curious to know what your thoughts are on that.
I like the signing. It's not going to be like he's not going to be the number one back who's going to be getting 1,500 yards. So that's not why I'm excited. I think it's just a nice signing to have. Obviously, the history that he had in Kansas City, and then being able to rectify it this year, and it would have been even nicer to have a Super Bowl ring on top of that. But he was the Chiefs' best running back for a long chunk of the season, and he kind of deserves this contract, whether you like it or not. I mean, I know it's only a 1-year deal to a 30-year-old running back, and he might not even make it to the regular season, if we're being honest, or you'd be a healthy scratch by week 4 or something like that. So I think that the Chiefs, they still need to draft a running back or sign somebody or whatever the case may be. But I think that the Kareem Hunt signing is just a nice veteran bring back.
Yeah, I got to be honest. I didn't like it because I don't want it to prohibit them from getting another young back in the room. I don't trust Elijah Mitchell either. I will say, though, the more I've thought about it, and maybe I'm off base here, it kind of tells me the Chiefs are confident in Pacheco's return to good health and return to form. Because to me, the only reason I could see bringing Kareem Hunt in, again, is as a backup plan to Pacheco again. Like, if they're both healthy, you're not playing Hunt over Pacheco, or at least I'm not. So maybe it's just that. Maybe they're confident with Pacheco, so now it's like, okay, well, something happens to him. We've got this backup plan for a guy we know can block and go 3 yards in a cloud of dust if we had to have it. That's the only thing. Otherwise, I didn't like the move.
I see what you're saying there. I'm not as confident in the Pacheco return. I don't think it exactly hampers what they do in the draft, because, I mean, again, we've talked about a handful of times who's making this Chiefs roster in the 3rd, 4th, 5th round. If you can draft a running back, you might as well. And then you drafted Kareem Hunt in the 5th round, or whatever round you drafted him in a handful of years ago. You might find that next guy moving forward. And so I don't think that the signing necessarily hampers anything. It's just that it just kind of limits some of their options in the later rounds, but their options are already limited anyway.
You mentioned a few minutes ago the signing of Christian Fulton. In your mind, is that signing a contingency plan long-term for Trent McDuffie? Do you feel like it's something that they're I mean, obviously trying to find a complement to him, or what was in your mind, the motivation behind that signing?
The cornerback market got a little interesting this week, with Derek Stingley getting his big new deal, and Trent McDuffie Brett Veach, Trent McDuffie figured out as soon as possible, because Chiefs can't afford that. Like, it's just it's a real thing that a real cap thing that they're going to have to deal with. And they haven't had a real one because Patrick Mahomes has been locked in for so long, Travis Kelce locked in for so long, getting Chris Jones, him settled and everything. That was more of a specific particular situation with the agents and everything. This one is just like, he deserves all of the money in the world, and the Chiefs may not have the money to pay him when the time comes, or later on down the road. And so I think that the Christian Fulton signing is just like, all right, we're still in win now mode. We're still in, all right, we can go win the Super Bowl next year. And it was only a 2-year deal, so I think it's more of a, we can still go win the Super Bowl and win now, and the better way to do it. And if you look at our conference, Buffalo with an explosive offense, the 2 receivers re-signing in Cincinnati, you have 2 corners that can try and match up with them now.
Kelsey will free up some money to. I don't think it's going to happen before next. I don't think it can happen before next offseason. I'm looking. You sent this out. So other than the name of maybe a really good '90s alternative band, tell us about Drop Back Flowchart. Like Drop Back Flowchart. What are we looking at there? You sent that out on Twitter just before you came on here with Mahomes. What are we looking at when we look at that?
So that's every drop back Patrick Mahomes attempted in the 2024 season and every outcome from where they came from. Now that's from Field Vision Pro. We haven't released that product yet, but we'll be getting that out shortly. But it shows you basically everything that he possibly did all year long with every time he touched the football. So obviously most of them are complete. X amount of them are incomplete, interceptions. He was sacked on this amount of dropbacks. And so, excuse me, I think it is a very interesting way to look at quarterbacks every time they touch the football in a drop back, especially Patrick Mahomes, who sure he's it's kind of weird because I was shocked to see that the hit as throw number was so low, but at the same time, it's hard to describe because he's such a weird athlete. It's not even that he's a good athlete. He's just a weird athlete that he's got this escapability to just move out of the way, and he's not getting hit as often as he used to.
But it's showing us QB 12. Right? Like that's what I'm looking at. It's showing us QB 12, showing us an above average quarterback. Is that strictly like when we look at that, is that the offensive line is most of this? I guess my question is, does this metric consider bad offensive line play, or is it taking that out of the equation?
It is taking it out of the equation. It's focusing solely on Patrick Mahomes' production as a quarterback, and obviously with the receivers, like having good offensive line helps your numbers. That's why you see like a Sam Darnold, he was higher. I think he was like the 5th quarterback overall, but Joe Burrow having his incredible season put him at the top of the list, even though independent of everything else, like the offensive line wasn't very good. The run game wasn't very good, but guess what? For the Bengals, passing game was ridiculous.
This is sort of where I land with the offseason, just in my thought, and we talked about this last hour, is that with Patrick Mahomes and that offense, Mahomes is the best quarterback in the league, one of the best quarterbacks of all time as of now in his career. Last season, they were a league average offense. They were a pedestrian offense with Patrick Mahomes at the helm. Now, there were injuries. Every team has them. It happens throughout the year all the time. If they aren't going to, and they haven't shown that they're going to do this, if they're not going to bring in new reinforcements offensively and bring back the majority of the crew that they had a season ago, which that seems to be the direction that they're going offensively, then I believe that they've got to try to find a way schematically to make that offense better next year, because you've got a fantastic quarterback, and him leading a league average offense is wasting, I feel like, his talent. So if that's where things land for the Chiefs, what do you think from an offensive game plan perspective the Chiefs need to do to make sure that it's not a league average offense this season?
I think what Jacob says, simply by everybody being healthy at the start of next year and hopefully not getting hurt throughout the course of the year, as often at least, they should be better. Like Rashee Rice, after 6 games or 8 games or whatever it is, that's a real number one. I believe he could be a real number one by the end of next year. Travis Kelce, obviously still incredibly productive as an older tight end, but he doesn't necessarily need to be the focal point of your offense. So reducing that down, but still being incredibly effective, to me, the only thing that they really need to do is just decide to run the football. Just, hey, hand the football off, run in some inside zone just because you can. Not because you have to or you're actually good at it. They're not actually a great running football team, like when it comes down to it, but they just don't decide not to run the football. As you saw in the Super Bowl, it was like 4 rushing attempts by the time the 4th quarter started, and you can't run the football at that point when you're down that much. Luckily for the Chiefs, they haven't been down at all, ever, really. So they haven't had to run the football, they haven't had to deal with that before, and so they've been in close games with Patrick Mahomes, and obviously things just work out. And so they haven't had to figure out things offensively and as a team as a whole. So I think that next year, just run the football. Just try. Just do it. It's not that hard. It doesn't seem that hard, at least.
They're not going to run the football.
Yeah.
That's
the hard part, because
not if Kareem Hunt is is the plan, right? Is the backup.
I don't think he is, though. I think that if they want to improve this offense at all, running the football is the way. Second, third, fourth round running back, or even a couple of them through that way. And it might be DJ Giddens or Devin Neal for us fans here in Kansas.
Right. I just like when they drafted Kareem Hunt, like they ran the ball that year. And so you might be right. Like there may be the back that blows people away. Cause I agree. That's the best way to ease into this, but you know good and well, like I do, that with Hollywood Brown back and Juju back and Worthy back and Kelsey back and add in Rashee Rice, they're not going to run the ball.
But it makes your all of that more effective if you
run
the football. No,
I
even think like not even like 5 yards of carry like we saw from the Eagles and the Lions these last couple of seasons. We just need 3 yards like we saw this year, and then bomb over the top like you saw in the Super Bowl when they needed it the most is bombs over the top, and it worked. So run that old, I mean, it's Andy Reid, so he's going to have this old West Coast scheme and still some of the zone run, but run some of that power run stuff that Gary Kubiak used to run in Denver, where it's just like handoff over the top, handoff over the top. And so they should diversify a little bit more. Like you're saying, they're probably not going to, but at the end of the day, they're probably going to win the AFC West. They're probably going to be in the AFC Championship.
We say they won't. Can they accomplish the same thing though? Because I thought Juju coming back was sneaky good. So now with Rice and Juju and Worthy, and Juju really is just a backup plan to Rice. So it's Rice and Worthy, or it's Juju and Worthy. Like I feel like they do have the personnel for a short passing attack to replace the run to some degree, right? Can you accomplish the same thing with a short passing game that you can with a run game?
In 2022, you could have, and that's what they did. That's what Patrick Mahomes won the MVP off of. But then you watch this Super Bowl against the Eagles, and Vic Fangio flushed everything to the outside and said nothing through the middle, nothing short, and that's what the Chiefs tried to do all game. And so that's what Vic Fangio is really the tastemaker for defense in the NFL. He was the reason why Bill Belichick only allowed 3 points to that Rams team. He was the too high safety look in the NFL for a long time. And now that the short passing game that the Chiefs tried to look to in the Super Bowl, he's the one that stopped it most effectively. Teams are probably going to try and do that. So I don't know if that's going to be as effective. You might just actually have to run the ball like everybody else is.
Yeah, I mean, we would love to see it. I'm afraid we won't. Defensively, can they get to where they were through the draft? I mean, that's the only choice now, is to draft well. Is there enough out there, do you think, with so many holes to fill, that they can do it in a year?
Probably not. I mean, there's probably George Karlaftis is your defensive end of the future. Obviously, Chris Jones being there for the next few years, but that's the only spot of the field that you're really looking at that you can draft is defensive line, and your great defensive linemen are going in the first 8 picks or whatever it is. So I think that they re-signed Nick Bolton. They bring back, or Drew Tranquill's already on contract. Leo Chenal's we've talked about their secondary being as young as they are. The only improvements you can make or afford them would be defensive line. I just don't know if there's going to be anybody available where they're drafting at.
Felix Johnson, our Chiefs insider, joining us. I got one more for you. Put your Brett Veach hat on here. You got to make the decision. George Karlaftis or Trent McDuffie? Can't keep them both. Which one you keeping?
Can I resign? Can I just?
You're going to have to make that call. It's the call the Chiefs are going to have to make. There's no way I think they keep both these guys.
In a world, there is I mean, with the Eagles paying everybody, I don't know how the Eagles pay everybody. Why can't the Chiefs? That's how I feel about it. Or why can't everybody?
They're out of money.
They're out of money, but
Travis Kelce's $16 million isn't going to cover both of those extensions.
Exactly. Probably Trent McDuffie, because when you think about the conference you're in and then the extensions that just got put out to T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, you look at Buffalo and what they're probably going to do in the passing attack and all the other teams in the AFC coming up, you probably want to go with a corner. And a great defensive end is hard to find. I love George Karlaftis. He's not great yet. He's just kind of feeding off of, Chris Jones is getting double teamed, and I'm incredibly ferocious and effective, but he's still feeding off of that.
I agree. I completely agree. We know McDuffie is great.
Yes. I think that George Karlaftis is very, very good, but we know for a fact that Trent McDuffie is great.
and they can draft in a heavy defensive class for it this year. Go draft 3 or 4 of those guys and see what sticks. I think that's the plan of attack. All right, Felix, all the work at Field Vision. You can follow Felix at Felix R. Johnson, Arrowhead Addict as well, our Chiefs insider. Having fun this offseason. It's been an interesting one for a lot of reasons. We appreciate it.
Absolutely appreciate you, gentlemen.
Go get your Shockers future bet in the NIT. Tell all your friends.
I'll pass on that one.
They'll really look at you and think you probably need to reevaluate life choices when you're taking NIT futures bets. But get in on that action while you can.
I got a 4-leg parlay on 16 seeds, baby. Let's go.
Let's go. All right, there goes Felix Johnson. We appreciate that. Always bringing it. Such
you
fun
might get made fun of by throwing a bet on Wichita State to win the NIT at 250 to 1. But I'll be the one laughing when my $10 turns into $2,500.
You better believe it, baby. You better believe it. I haven't had time, and I need to probably take the time because we're certainly not going to have time Thursday. Thursday's going to be wild. The next 2 days, I have to get it together and go through and do it. I don't even know like what are even the good long shot bets at the title. All the ones are in my final 4. Like who I think Tech probably and Wisconsin maybe would be and I'll bet you their odds aren't good enough to even do it. But those would probably be the 2.
My favorite long shot, because of where I have my final 4, I'm taking BYU to the final 4. That's a long shot bet. And I think I haven't looked at the odds on that, but I'm sure the odds are fairly long.
I definitely think BYU is capable of making noise. I hate that they matched up with Wisconsin. The problem for me with BYU is, can they make noise? Can they do that 6 times? Right? Like that's what he's in. It takes 6 to get there. That's a little bit of the problem for me with them. But I definitely think they can do it enough to knock off a really good team in the tournament. I'm with you on that. But I got to get it. Like, I got to take my wife's Aztecs, don't I, tonight? Like, I got to put that into play somehow. I haven't watched a second of them this year. North Carolina. Nobody wants North Carolina in there. Nobody. Get them, Aztecs. We'll come back. We'll talk a little more bracket next.
66 counties, 4 regions, and 1 weather team that you can trust. Find Storm Team 12 every weekday at 5:30 on the KSCW. Whatever the weather and wherever you are, Storm Team 12 is zooming in, going zone by zone to give you a more in-depth look at the forecast and some science behind the storms so you know more. We're focusing on the forecast so you can focus on what's important to you. Storm Team 12 Weather Focus, 5:30 on the KSCW.
The future of television has arrived. Next Gen TV is here with stunning video, movie theater quality sound, enhanced voice clarity, and interactive features, all upgradable for the future. Learn more at watchnextgentv.com.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea.
With 20 plus flavors of sweet and unsweet iced tea, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite, or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say, drink tea, be happy.
It's the canvas of our imagination. They tell a story. Clouds affect the events of your day. Sometimes they growl, sometimes they inspire, but they're always the messengers of nature's mood, written in the sky. Storm Team 12 understands the language of clouds. We're dedicated to decoding their message so you know what to expect. Behind every cloud, there is a story waiting to be told. Trust Ross Jansen and Storm Team 12, alerting you first to the impact on your life.
When you need help, remember, you're not alone. We are here. We are neighbors. We are together. We are Kansas. We are 12 News.
They say,
What is GMFB overtime?
It's Peter, Jamie, Kyle, and Akbar breaking down the NFL 5 days a week.
It's okay to be excited.
It's this, that, and a whole lot of It's football for everyone.
Weekdays at 10 a.m. on KSCW.
Are following a breaking update.
Every day, all day, stream the stories that have you talking near and far.
Whoever is behind the wheel of this bus is not stopping.
From hundreds of local reporters and meteorologists spanning the country.
Chaos here this morning at the UW campus.
Search LNL for the all-new Local News Live streaming app.
Make yourself known now.
310-01 in traffic pursuit.
Oh my God, here.
Investigate TV Plus begins with real people.
We investigate stories that impact you.
And inspire change every day.
Something is broken.
Real problems.
Why are they hiding it?
And real solutions.
My daughter was dying in front of me.
What was your reaction when he said that?
Investigate TV Plus, weekdays at 3:30 p.m. on KWCH.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea.
With 20 plus flavors of sweet and unsweet iced tea, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say drink tea, be happy.
Mornings are busy. We're here to make your mornings better. We report the stories that affect you.
3 more hospital lies from contaminated apple juice just a day after the FDA issue a recall.
We're here to make your mornings better.
Closing east and westbound lanes of K96 for repairs.
With 12 News, you're prepared for your whole day.
Scattered thunderstorms across the state into the afternoon.
Stay a step ahead with 12 News this morning on KWCH and KSCW.
All right, welcome back, everybody. It is Sports Daily here on KFH, rocking and rolling on a Tuesday before the tournament really begins. But we get some games tonight. We get the Shockers tonight in the NIT. We get the play-in games out in Dayton. Well, what do you think about the play-in games? You good with them? I just feel like
I'm fine with them. I'm fine. I mean, it extends the tournament out. You've got a couple of other teams in there. I mean, I will say that this year specifically, I don't think there's any reason that North Carolina should be in the field.
No.
But that's less about the games themselves, like having first 4 games, and more about the teams that actually made it in. But other than that, I mean, I'm okay with the first 4.
I think that North Carolina over West Virginia is a hard one to swallow.
Yeah.
West Virginia, the committee, I guess, yesterday said it was because of an injury to a player that hasn't played for West Virginia anyway this year.
DeVries, the coach's son, hasn't played for like 3 months.
He didn't play at all in the Big 12.
Yeah,
like just a stupid. I don't
North
know.
Carolina's athletic director is also the head of the selection committee, and he's had to say multiple times he wasn't in the room when the decision was made. And my whole thought on this is, why are we still in a world where selection committees even exist? Like, we have the technology now with, I mean, you want to talk about AI? I mean, I'm sure Chat GPT could put together
I don't want
a
that
tournament field, right? Like, I'm just saying, like, why are we relying on fallible people continually?
Because there's no other way to do it. Unless you go to auto bids, like X conference gets X auto bids based on the conference standings, which I don't know that that's the best way to do it either. This is the best way. And look, again, and I say this all the time, I had somebody messaging me about it the other day, and there's 68 teams that get in. Be one of the best 68. Don't create a doubt, right?
And I'm not a big fan of like expanding the tournament field either, because, you know, you have 68 teams. It's the same way with the college football playoff.
Just expand the play-ins, though.
You have 68 teams, and teams 69, 70, and 71 and 72 are all going to have arguments about getting in. You expand it to 96, teams 97, 98, 99, and 100 are going to have arguments too. Like, that's never going to end regardless of the number of teams that are in a tournament field.
There's no question. I think if you think about expansion, it seems ridiculous because of how many teams get in. I don't think it would bother me because I think I think what would happen is you would just expand the play-in games a little bit, right? You just have basically like all the 11s, and let's call it all the 11s, right? Instead of just 2 of the 11s, and let's call it all of the 12s or whatever do play-in games. So you can add, 6 teams or whatever, but it doesn't really change the tournament itself. Just like the play-in games now, they don't really change what we experience with the tournament, which is a 64-team bracket.
They do a little bit from time to time. Like, was it VCU that went from the first 4 and made a run?
I'm not saying these teams can't win.
Yeah.
The teams win out of the play-in all the time. I'm telling you, like, it's more often that since they've added the 11s playing in there that they win. What I'm saying is when it comes to Thursday, if they expand the field, when it comes to Thursday and Friday, which are the days everybody looks forward to all year, right? Where there's 64 teams, that part, even if they expanded it, I don't think that changes at all. What changes would be like Tuesday and Wednesday. So really, does that impact your experience with the tournament? I don't think that it would.
I don't think it does. I don't think it changes the overall like viewing experience or the organization or anything. It was VCU, by the way, back in 2010, 2011, when it was the first year of the first 4 and they went all the way to the Final Four. That was the Shaka Smart, coached VCU team back then. So that has happened. But I think that if you were to expand out the play-in rounds, I don't think it takes away from the overall tournament experience.
Yeah, look, the teams win. And so that's okay. And if they added a bunch of teams, like let's say you've got these teams playing like Texas and Xavier, and then you've also got West Virginia and I don't know, like who's another example of that? Get a chance to get in there and play. Like, I think that'd be fine. I wouldn't be opposed to it because I don't think it would change, but I think there is a fear that it would change. Okay, here, listen to this. Here's what I've been looking for. Found it. First 4, all right, the games that are played. At least one first 4 participant has advanced to the second round, Tommy. How often? Take a shot. 13 tournaments this has been a part of it.
8.
12.
12. Wow. Okay. Wow.
So you got 12 of 13, they go in. And this apparently doesn't count the COVID bubble year, but 5 times, those teams have reached the Sweet 16. You mentioned VCU in 2011. UCLA in 2021 reached the Final Four also.
I forgot about them.
Yeah. So, and then, of course, they ran the same team back the next year and were like a 1 seed. But like these games are like they impact the bracket for sure. There's no question about it. And so I think what you have when you hear about expansion, and I think the proponents of it, what you're really hearing is amplify the play-in and get more of those bubble teams playing each other. I mean, San Diego State, North Carolina tonight, that's pretty damn good. Like that's a tournament game. That feels like a tournament game. So I am not opposed to it. But again, you have to, I think, understand it. It's not going to change Thursday and Friday.
Right.
Which is what people are afraid of.
And how much fun would it be, by the way, just spitballing here, if you were to expand the all-day viewing that we have on Thursday and Friday, expand that to Tuesday and Wednesday, because there are 2 games tonight. Like they started, I think 5:30 our time is when the first game is. Same thing tomorrow. But if you had full days, like let's say you did 4 games a day, 4 games on Tuesday, 4 games on Wednesday, back to back to back to back on both of those days, you don't even need to have like the multiple games happening in a row, like all at the same time kind of thing that we have on Thursday or Friday, but just do like 4 games in a row on Tuesday, 4 games in a row on Wednesday. And those are all playing games. And maybe it's something as simple as it's all 4 11 seeds that do play in games, and it's all 4 16 seeds that do play in games, going into the actual tournament on Thursday. I think that'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I do too. And you'd have to be careful. Here's the other thing I would not want to see out of that is that all the, the auto bid, like tournament winners, like your true Cinderella. I wouldn't want to see them, though, all of a sudden just all get crammed into those games. That's what
some of them do anyway. Like some of them are like,
they do 2 of them, and that's already. I already don't like that though. Like those teams won their tournament. Like let them have Thursday and Friday. I don't like that they're in there. I think because they're worthless games to watch. Nobody wants to watch those games. No offense to those teams, but I'm not watching. I don't even know who the other one is tonight. Who's the other one tonight? Alabama State and St. Francis. I'm not watching that game anyway. Right. Now I'll watch Alabama State take on Duke or whatever it is on Thursday and Friday. So what I would do is I would make it like all the, let's call it 10s, 11s, and 12s, and they all play each other in a play-in. And like you said, you expand it, right? Tuesday and Wednesday. I would be totally fine with that. Totally fine with that. And in fact, I think it's a way you could enhance the tournament without taking away from the tournament. I don't think we would have this great fear of feeling like, let's say Arkansas was playing in that against Utah State. Would you feel like those teams got shorted or slided if they had to do that? Because I don't think I would.
And I wouldn't feel like, North Carolina made it into a tournament that they shouldn't have if they're playing in a play-in round with other teams that are around, where they're at on the bubble. Like had West Virginia made it to that point, had Boise State made it to that point. Like there were some bubble teams that were, and some of the bubble teams did make it in. Texas did, Xavier did, obviously North Carolina did. But if you can, there were clear-cut bubble teams, and then there was a drop-off after that, and not all of them got in. So that's a way, I think, to enhance all of that, as opposed to just like having this egregious, addition of North Carolina, while a team like West Virginia that was in like everybody's bracket didn't even make it in.
Yeah, and again, it's probably just 10s and 11s because 12s now you're getting into really good mid-major teams, and you'd have to be careful there to take their bids.
So what does that do? That takes it from 68 teams to 72.
And
eight of those teams end up playing in play-in. Oh no, that'd be more. That'd be 70.
Even higher.
Be 70.
Even higher.
78 teams or 7. Yeah. I'm bad at math. 80 teams somewhere.
So you'd have 8. You'd have 8 10s, 8 11s instead of 4. So there's 8 teams. So if you just did it there, you'd add 8 teams. And if you did it 10, 11, and 12, you would add 12 teams to get it to 80. I'm guessing that because I think I've heard 80 teams. I'm guessing that's sort of the thought there is you add 12 teams to what you currently have, but that's 68, not 64. Yeah. 64 plus 16. So you'd add, I think that's right. I think that either way, the idea is you would just have all the 10s, all the 11s, and all the 12s play each other to get in. And I would not have an issue with that. I think it would, I don't know that I'd love it. But I know that I don't automatically hate it. How about that? Like it could be something where I'm like, I don't like that. But again, when they went to 64 from 64 to 68, you would have thought that they, I mean, I don't even know how to describe. People were mad about that. I'm like, do you really care? And at that point, they weren't even giving us good play-in games. They were giving us bad play-in games at that point. And so now it's like, would it really? Because it doesn't. Like for everybody that loves Thursday and Friday, nothing would change. It just gives you something on Tuesday and Wednesday. So maybe I'm talking myself into being a proponent of this. I don't know. But when I get matchups like North Carolina and San Diego State, I'm pretty on board with that.
Well, and I think the issue is that when you think when the word expansion gets brought up, most people think of it in the terms of like, man, it's like it's going to be the 1 seed versus the 32, and 2 versus 31. Like that's not going to work. And I would not be a proponent of that, but that's what people default to when you hear the word expansion. I think there are some strategic ways that you can structure it. And like, just your idea, if you have all the 10s, all the 11s, all the 12s, do the playing game. I mean, I think that if my math is correct, that would take the tournament from 64 to 72, I believe, or 76. Take it to 76. So you're basically at that point, like adding a few teams that are bubble worthy and whatever. I think that's a good way to do it, and it expands the viewing on Tuesday and Wednesday.
I do too. So look, it's not like on the table or anything, and we just went on a sidebar because we're excited. Honestly, it's because we're excited about the play-in game tonight, and I think that's worth considering, right? When we talk about that, like I'm excited about San Diego State, North Carolina, because I know, like I have the winner of this game advancing in my bracket. I don't even care who it is. I have them advancing in my bracket, so I want to see who it is. I don't even know who I'd rather win that game, but I'm excited about it. And that's fun. Shockers tonight. Final thoughts, Tommy. We've talked a lot about the game. Turnovers, right? Lack of turnovers. Keep turnovers down, and I think they got a great chance. And
yeah, take care of the basketball. Take care of the basketball. Don't get caught up in when you're trying to keep up with Oklahoma State by getting careless. That's going to be the key to the game for the Shockers tonight.
Real quick, we told you it was a 5.5 point line tonight. The over-under 155. So more points than the Shockers' wheelhouse. Interesting. All right, we'll come back. More Sports Daily right after this.